Today we're talking about our organic product profile template that has been recently renovated, updated, and fit into an Excel workbook. Before I get into the functionality of this workbook, I want to talk about what we were using before. To do that, let me pull it up. I'm going to pull up our organic handler plan. And this workbook replaces sections 2 and 3 of the organic handler plan. And I'm going to show you what those sections look like currently. And when I say replaces, I kind of misspeak. QCS is not adopting this as the form that everyone needs to fill out. Most of our existing clients already have submitted organic product profiles and certified product lists to us that are in compliance, that have been reviewed, and that are in their files. We're not saying they need to create new ones on this new template. We're also not even saying that new clients would need to use this new template. This is a optional template for people who would see the utility in this. And I think that after we use it for a while, everyone will agree that there is some really strong utility in using this and will want to make the switch. But for simple producers, I honestly can say that the Word document system is completely adequate for folks who don't have a lot of products, who don't have complicated recipes. This old system is just fine. So let's just take a look at the old system. OHP 2 is products requested for certification, and this is just where people tell us what they want to have on their certificate, more or less: product name, their brand name, the labeling category, the packaging that it goes into, etc. With requesting additional information, we're just going to breeze on through this, but requesting additional information when, for instance, things are sourced from organic or excluded handlers, and things like that. Now, scrolling on down, OHP 3, this is where we take the information in OHP 2 and break it down into single ingredient products and repackaged products. And really the goal of both of these sections is, for single ingredient products, the goal is just who's the supplier and are they certified or not? And also making sure, again, to get that information about the brand name and ID mark and if it's being exported or not. And the multi-ingredient products, OHP 3B, the goal is similar, except we're also capturing information about what the recipe is for the multi-ingredient products. So single ingredient products, there's no recipe. We're just capturing whether it is or who the supplier is, multi-ingredient product, recipe, and suppliers, and their certification status. So what are the limitations of the system, and why did we introduce an alternative? The limitations are, as I was seeing them, as someone who would do review work in a sense. I'm not a reviewer, I was an inspector, but I would review this work prior to an inspection, and then at an inspection, we'd need to make updates at times, is that we were having people fill out this Word document, and they would submit it to us. And a lot of times, actually, they would submit multiple copies of this one page, an OHP 3B, our organic product profile, for each one of their products. And so a client's file may have a dozen of these. And if anything changed, especially something that was kind of universal across the whole dozen, then they would have to access each one of those dozen files and make the changes individually. And so the most common changes that I would see would be like, we switched ingredient suppliers, and we're no longer sourcing our sugar from company X. We're now getting it from company Y. Well, I'm tasked, inspectors are tasked at an inspection to update that information at inspection. And I was finding that I was encountering a lot of instances where folks had made changes, they had known they had made changes, they hadn't told QCS yet, or maybe they had, but things were slow in getting the updates onto their files in the file system that we use. And so I was spending a lot of time and making a lot of updates at an inspection for things that were like kind of small. It's important. I mean, supplier verification is very important. It's an important role for both review and the inspection process. But it was taking a lot of time, and over the course of making these corrections, I would walk away with a feeling that the clients wished there was a better way. So that's what inspired what we're about to go over, this workbook. And so, as you can see from the title, it is envisioned as kind of replacing OHP 2 and 3, what we just reviewed, the organic products list and the single ingredient and multi-ingredient product pages, OHP 3A and B. And the way that it works, the first page is a title page, table of contents, with some instructions. And I think I'm going to not dwell on this title page very much right now. I'm going to quickly go through the other pages and then go back to the table of contents, because there's some cool functionality here that that we'll want to review later. But looking at the table of contents, there's two things that are static. Products requested for certification tab and ingredients and processing aids tab. The rest are blanks. And so just moving on to the first static page, products requested for certification. This is replacing OHP 2. And so we have columns for product name, brand name, or other ID mark, labeling categories, package type, and if this is a single ingredient product, use the drop-down list. So anyhow, let's just go over how each one of these columns is intended to work. Product name, this is neat. The product name section here, whatever anyone types here, is a field that is accessible on each one of these other blank organic product profile pages. So let's just do a quick test to show what I mean. Typed in the word test. This blank organic product profile file page is a template, it's blank. And the first section for someone to fill out, name of product requested for certification. We want each one of these organic product profiles to be referencing something on this page. And I've made it so that if they hit this drop-down menu, they can select from the items that they've listed on column A of products requested for certification. So we wrote test, they can select the word test. And if they wanted to have dozens of products to choose from, they would first need to fill them out here. So there's kind of a chronology to this. This page is important before filling out these pages, because of course you won't be able to select from a list without giving us your product list. This column B, it isn't referenced anywhere else actually in the worksheet. Column C, this is a drop-down list. So just to have uniformity in how people are giving us their information, we have these 4 options here. Package type, also another drop-down list. Column C, the labeling category actually is referenced. So, let's do my test product again, and let's make it a 100% organic product, and then see what happens when I go and select test now. So it says test, and column D says 100% organic. If I had changed this to made with organic and go back here, it says made with organic. So that does follow us around. Package type, this column doesn't follow us around. It's really just useful in this particular page. Column E, if this is a single ingredient product, use the drop-down list, select source from the ingredient sheet. This one actually gets into like a little bit of a backwards chronology. It's interesting, but in order for someone to select an ingredient that would go into the test product as the one single ingredient, they would need to fill out the next tab, the ingredients and processing age sheet. And this was the first sheet I ever tried to develop when I was doing this work, and I tried to like cram all this other stuff kind of onto this sheet as well, and it became complicated, and that's why it's all blown up into different pages of one workbook instead of just one long sheet. But one of the things that, as I was saying earlier, was a major hassle at inspections and at review time, and for our clients as well, was whenever they update a supplier or have alternate suppliers, and they need to make that update across a dozen organic product profiles that are all individual Word documents or PDFs. There was no fast way to do it. It was just a slog through a bunch of old documents. This is intended to make that slog a lot easier. And so in doing so and making it easier, we're encouraging folks to keep more up-to-date supplier lists, which is helpful for them because we want them to keep these records and find them helpful for themselves. A lot of places have very sophisticated ways of doing things like record keeping, and I'm not going to go and give a tool to like Kraft Heinz and have them adopt it for their company-wide methods of making of keeping a supplier list. Kraft Heinz keeps their own supplier list, and they give it to us, and it's in compliance or it's not. We make that call. But for folks somewhere below them, who don't have an in-house way of keeping a list like this, the tools that we create actually are really helpful. And so this is intended, I think, for folks like that who haven't developed a in-house way that's better than what we're doing. And so with that said, what we're trying to do here is have folks jot down an ingredient. So let's just well, what's an ingredient? Let's just say, well, sugar. And sugar, maybe 100% organic. And we have now sections here for a primary supplier, if they think of it as a primary supplier. Not everyone does, but where they normally get it from, whether or not the supplier is certified, and who the last certified entity in the supply chain is if they're not certified. But then we have sections, unlike our previous organic product profiles, we have sections for alternate suppliers. And so this is where if someone makes a change that would affect multiple products, and the change is really just we've changed suppliers, this is where that becomes a breeze. They would just update this sheet. And it doesn't change the fact that it's sugar that's in the recipe. It just changes the fact that the supplier is different, and they wanted to let us know that. So there's really only, I only have room for 3, but if there was a need for a client to make room for more alternate suppliers, they actually do have the ability to copy and paste and make more sections here. Sorry, it's getting glitchy on me for some reason. Okay, what's going on? Okay. I don't think that is this particular workbook being glitchy, more so that sometimes Excel itself gets glitchy. But anyway, let's talk about where these columns go. What utility they have in other sheets. So column A is sugar as one of our ingredients. And in our organic product profile, we have column A way for clients to, from a drop-down list, select an ingredient. And I think that we gave this 100% organic status. Let's just see what pops up. So sugar is the ingredient, and 100% organic status automatically pops up because that's what we selected. The supplier information doesn't need to follow onto the actual recipe page. Essentially, it's all contained here. And then we have a fillable field for percent by weight and product, another fillable field for notes. And at this point in time, I want to actually now switch over to an example, like pre-filled in organic product profile sheet. I don't think I've opened it yet. Let me get the example open. Okay, so here we have, let's just start from the start. A table of contents that looks a little bit different now because there's a lot less blank organic product profiles and 2 that are actually named products. The products requested for certification and ingredients lists are the 2 tabs that always stay in this position as the things that immediately follow the table of contents. So in this case, products requested for certification, I've gone ahead and made 3 products up. One is a retail organic product that one is a retail organic product. One is actually a single ingredient product, this Yopon Holly, roasted Yopon Holly, that's 100% organic. And another is a non-single ingredient product, Sleepy Tea Loose, that's a wholesale product, 100% organic. So quickly, how did this work? How did I get Yopon Holly as an option on this list here on column E to identify that this was a single ingredient product? Well, remember, it's a drop down that is referencing the following page, the ingredients and processing aids page. So I had to fill in this page before I could select something here. And Yopon Holly happens to start with a Y, so it's the last item in the alphabetical order of all the ingredients I listed. But here's all the other things that it could have been. This, these are all the things that are on this page that I could have selected from this drop-down list. But of course, this is a Yopon Holly product, so that's what that is. Ingredients and processing aids, I've just gone ahead and listed a bunch of, common products that are in our hypothetical recipes for the two recipe products that we have. So as you can see here, we are actually wanting to capture suppliers for non-organic products as well as organic products. So salt is an example of a non-organic product that we want to know where it's coming from. Not every salt's the same. We want to make sure that the salts that are in use are in compliance. And we have another non-organic processing aid here that is common to a lot of processed products. So I touched on how this column worked quickly, but I didn't talk about the different labeling categories, and I think now is a good time to do it. When I say labeling categories, I mean for inorganics in the USDA National Organic Program, there's 100% organic as a possibility, there's organic, and there's made with organic. And there's less than 70% organic as well. These are important for noting if a product's going to be used in a recipe and the recipe is desiring to reach a percentage organic that would enable them to make their desired label claim. So, of course, a product that contains multiple ingredients that the product itself is wishing to be in the 100% organic labeling category, every ingredient's going to need to be 100% organic. Whereas if a ingredient was for one reason or another had processing aids or something that reduced the percentage of organic ingredients within that ingredient, then it would necessarily reduce the total percentage organic of the product that the ingredient is used in. And so what we have here are drop downs to kind of select between the major labeling categories, which would be 100% organic, organic, or made with organic. But then we've included some additional labeling categories that are not labeling categories within the actual NOP, but are useful for and common when dealing with complex recipes. So, for instance, there may be a product. This green tea concentrate, for instance, this is an ingredient that this producer is wanting to use in a product. They're buying this from someone else. The person who made this green tea concentrate made it with organic green tea leaves, and it's a concentrate product. So in my head, making up this hypothetical list, this is a liquid concentrate, right? And this liquid concentrate, it's water, green tea, extract of some sort, and potentially some kind of preservative. What kind of preservative might be in use in a product like this? Well, how about ascorbic acid? That's a common preservative in liquid products, but it's a non-organic ingredient. It's an allowed non-organic processing aid. And so that would necessarily drop down the green tea concentrate ingredient, its status from it couldn't be 100% organic if it has this non-organic ingredient in it. However, the producer of that product, of that ingredient, they know that they know how much of the non-organic processing aid they use. They know that it was, according to their recipes, not more than 1% of the final product, and they have a certificate of analysis attesting to that. So with that information, they could say to the purchaser of their ingredient, hey, here's this green tea concentrate, and you can use it in your organic labeled products, but you can also know that it is 99% organic, because if I didn't give you that COA that said, hey, this is 99% organic, then the default would have to be, if there wasn't a COA, the default would have to be, we would have to assume that it was the quote unquote normal NOP labeling category of just organic, and we would default to 95%. Because that is 95% through 99.99% is going to default to the organic labeling category. So basically, a COA allows us to make distinctions somewhere between 95% and 100%. And that is what we're allowing for here. Sorry for the long-winded explanation. It's actually going to make a little bit more sense if that kind of got off the rails as we go into the demonstration recipes. All this is to say is that we have options that give us the ability to use organic ingredients, but know that they fall somewhere between the range of 95% and 100% organic. I didn't really make this demonstration too complicated in terms of alternate suppliers, because as I was saying, suppliers aren't really referenced anywhere else on the sheet. But as you could see, we did make use of some of this information, like is the supplier certified? In this case, Cargill isn't a certified supplier, but this is also an uncertified product. So why would they be? So that's why there's an NA there. However, this ginger concentrate, I made up a supplier, Ag Imports. Maybe they're just a broker importing some kind of product from ginger concentrate. Well, in this hypothetical, that came from the Caribbean somewhere, some ginger producer in the Caribbean, and Ag Imports was the broker that got it into the U.S. Let's now go to our organic product profile pages and see what we've done with it. This is the bottled green ginger tea. Let me quickly go back to the products requested for certification page, and let's just take a look at that product. It is an organic retail product. The organic part is referenced right here because we selected it, and it references that page. And then the client is to fill out their ingredients for this particular product based off of what they've filled out on this page. And so they've gone ahead and selected green tea concentrate, honey granules, ginger, etc. down the list. Water is automatically a field that is fillable in these sheets. If you look at the blank OPP, water is just there. That's just because I felt it was the easiest to do that rather than because all of these are fillable fields. If I wanted someone to be able to fill with water, I would need to trust that they would add water as an ingredient. And I just figured it was easier to just make it always an option right there. And if they want to use it, then they just add the weight, percent by weight. So in this case, water is obviously a part of this bottled green ginger tea retail product. Also, it's at the bottom of this page right here, but if you scroll down, there is a processing aid in this product as well, and it's used at a percent weight of 0.25%. Now, let's see where things like ingredient status come into play. So this is an organic product, so that means that the labeling category that they're seeking, the recipe needs to be verified to be greater than 95% organic ingredients. So we have green tea concentrate that's used at 99%, or that is an ingredient that has the status of 99%, and it's used at a known weight. Honey granules, that is presumably honey granules could be similar to green tea concentrate. I mean, honey granules is really just dried honey. So maybe if there was a COA, it could be something that was 99%. But in this case, hypothetically, the supplier of honey granules, let's just pretend they didn't supply a COA. And on their certificate, it just says organic. So in this case, the system's going to assume that honey granules are 95% organic. Ginger concentrate, there's a COA, says 97%. Buckwheat, again, this is probably something that could be assumed to be greater than 95%, but their certificate says organic, so the system's going to just assume 95 unless there's a COA. Spearmint dry, that's 100% organic. Salt for flavoring is a non-organic ingredient, and all of these are used at the inputted weights that the client would input. Now, this is what happens. The inputted weights here are go through a little formula, and the place where the formula is demonstrated is right to our right here, the sum of ingredients, sum of organic ingredients, and then the percent organic ingredients little box area. So all of these weights that are inputted should sum up to 100. If I add something, an extra 1 there, it's going to sum up to 101, and it's going to trigger a couple little alarms as well. We want our recipes to add to 100. It kind of is important for making this work. So when we're communicating to clients how this works, that should be something that we communicate. And also when clients have questions, maybe they're like, well, I can't make this work. That's a place to look. The sum of ingredients, is it adding to 100? If not, let's see about making that actually add up properly. The sum of organic ingredients section is the sum of organic ingredients. The NOP gives us an instruction that the sum of organic ingredients is all ingredients, all organic ingredients. And so that's going to obviously exclude things like water, non-organic, salt, the processing aid down there. So also, this is going to exclude the percentages of non-organic ingredients in the organic ingredients. So if we used 100 pounds of green tea concentrate and we had a COA that said that that it's 99% organic, then in this case it would be the sum of the organic ingredients. If it was a single ingredient that we're looking at, it would be 99 pounds organic and 1 pound non-organic. It's just a formula referencing this information and this information, referencing column B and column C. What's a good way of demonstrating? Let's do exactly that. Green tea concentrate, it's 99% organic. Percent by weight and product, I'm just going to say 100%. And as you can see, just like I said, sum of ingredients is 100. Sum of organic ingredients winds up being 99. So that's how that section works. Now, the percent organic ingredients is essentially the sum of the organic ingredients minus water and salt. Well, the sum of the organic ingredients divided by the non-organic ingredients excluding water and salt. And so the only non-organic ingredient that we've added to this product that isn't water or salt is the ascorbic acid. And let's just say that hypothetically I use, let's go ahead and say instead of green tea concentrate at 7, I used it at 2, and I added 5 units of this processing aid. That goes ahead and triggers a couple things. So the sum of organic ingredients is still 100, but the sum of organic ingredients drops and the percentage of organic ingredients drops as well, because we just did a pretty drastic reversal of the recipe and added a whole lot of units of this non-organic ingredient. But one thing that you might have noticed is that column D, this section right here where it says organic, it switched from being just a plain gray field to being red. That is triggered whenever the qualifications for what makes something organic, it has to be greater than 95% organic, aren't met by this field here, the percent organic ingredients. So once the 62 number, once it dropped below 95, it triggered this to turn red. So that's a good visual indicator to you guys about whether or not this recipe as written meets the requirements to have that particular organic labeling category. So let me just go back to the way it was, and we've now corrected the problem, and it's back to 95.8% organic. So as you can see, these things matter. To make it 95.8, you know, like as for demonstration purposes, I fiddled around with the percent by weights just to give us something that was close but just above, and that just goes to show you that these differences, where like this is 99% organic with a COA, really does make a difference. In fact, let's go ahead. What if I change green tea concentrate to, rather than 99% with a COA, what if I changed that to 95% in our ingredients list? What would happen to this product? So there is no 95%. 95% just is organic. Let's go to our OPP. So now it's the ingredient status has already changed, and as you can see, it dropped the percent organic ingredients from 95.8 something to 93.9. triggering us to be aware that this no longer qualifies as written for organic status. So yes, that is a good demonstration of why one may wish to collect those COAs. Finally, just kind of on the administrative side, there's other fields here for the producer to tell us things like, are we exporting this product? Does it have sulfates, nitrates, nitrites, etc. And then finally, section here for QCS office use, approving this particular recipe, approved by, date approved, um, and some information here if there is a need for a reviewer to add additional information about the known organic percentages of ingredients that are in use. There is a field here for them to go ahead and do so. And then finally, instructions. There's various instructions at different places here. The actual instructions are here. This section down here in the bottom right is just telling the producer and anyone using the sheet how this section right here works. And finally, at the very bottom, there's instructions on creating new blank sheets, just in case you wanted to know how to do that. Because not everyone who may use this is super Excel savvy, so I tried to make this as user friendly as possible. Really quickly, here's just another example of a product that Sleepy Tea, the loose Sleepy Tea, is a 100% organic product. So as we would to meet that definition, then of course everything would need to have 100. Every ingredient would need to have 100% organic status. If, for instance, what would be an example of an ingredient that doesn't have 100% organic status? What if I change this from licorice to, I think, buckwheat is one that doesn't have 100% organic status. Yeah, so buckwheat is just organic, so it drops down the percent organic ingredients to 99.5, which means it doesn't qualify for 100% organic status. Just change that back to licorice. Okay, that is the how the sheet functions. Everything up to and excluding the TOC. Now let's go back to the table of contents and see how that functions. So let's say I wanted to create a new organic product profile. So I just went ahead and duplicated it, and let's say I want to go ahead and rename it to Yaupon Blend. So I picked something that alphabetically would come after bottled green tea and sleepy tea. Our table of contents is not yet updated. It still is not showing the change. However, this worksheet defaults to showing the table of contents page rather than the home page, which is kind of typical when you open a Excel sheet. But it kind of defaults to right here, and there is an option to select this button here, the only button here, which says update/return to table of contents. So I hit this button and it brings me back to the table of contents, which now has bottled green ginger tea, sleepy tea, and Yaupon blend as we'd expected it in alphabetical order. These items shouldn't change. 4 and 5 are always going to be right there. Blank OPPs, they're all in parentheses, and in alphabetical order rules, parentheses come before actual whole characters. So it's always going to be above our products that have names or numbers. Let's try one more time. Let's go with a number. Let's say that they don't have an actual name for their product, but they use some kind of numbering system. So they use the number 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want to see how that inputs into our table of contents. I'll just hit update, return to table of contents. And in alphabetical order rules, 1, 2, 3, 4 comes before, numbers come before letters. So it's going to be there. Now, the reason why this is going to be useful, then why the table of contents is actually necessary, was the scrolling function on an Excel workbook that has a ton of pages. It leaves a lot to be desired. Let me switch back here. This is an Excel workbook that has merely 10 blank organic product profiles. And as you can see, in order to scroll between them, you have to use this bar here. Actually, that doesn't scroll between them. Sorry, that actually just scrolls on the page. In order to scroll between those bars, I don't even know if my sheet is. Oh no. Let's see. Where is the tool? Yeah, I mean, you have to click like some hard to find button on this little toolbar down here. It's or yeah, here on the left here, you could go ahead and do it. And also, so that's one reason why it can be hard to find what you're looking for if you didn't have just 10 products, but maybe you had 50. Then I'd have to be scrolling for a while. And so we just found that creating a table of contents, that each one of these is a link. And if I click on the link, it brings me to that page. So if I want to quickly get from, blank OPP4 to the hypothetical product number 50 that's way over to the right that we'd have to scroll forever to get to, really the quickest way would be to go to this sheet here, or this button, update, return to table of contents, and then find what we're looking for here. And every time you hit this button, it automatically sorts this alphanumerically, as I just demonstrated. So so it should be easy to find your product. If it's number 50, if you're looking through 50 items, and the thing you're looking for is Yaupon Holly, well, it's a Y. It's going to be towards the end, right? So that's how that works. And I think with that, I've pretty much gone through the entire intention and functionality of this sheet. One thing to say, just as at the very end, I maybe should have mentioned at the start, in order for this to work, for this table of contents to work, it's what's known as a macro, which is just essentially an add-on bit of code to the Excel program, a user-generated bit of code. So we wrote this code to make this work. And so you have to approve macros in order to use this sheet to its full functionality. You have to approve macros to use this code. Otherwise, the table of contents aren't going to work. The code is good, healthy code. There's nothing in it that you need to be concerned about. It just does this. So when you open a new Excel workbook, I think a lot of people's settings are set to default to not approving macros, which is a good security measure, because some macros can have code that could conceivably be malicious. And so you have to individually approve each time you have a worksheet with macros. And so in this case, there are macros, and you do need to approve them in order to use the workbook. So that's that. Any questions from the folks assembled here right now?
Is approving macros a pop-up that comes up that I can just say, okay, approve, or is that an additional menu selection that I need to select?
Let's see if I could prompt. Let's see if I could prompt Excel to ask me macros have been disabled, and you have to hit this button, enable content.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Okay, you guys shouldn't be seeing my screen anymore, and stop recording.